Blood in the Paris Catacombs, a horror crime novel. Shark Chapter 1. The Whisper Beneath Paris. Rain washed the narrow Paris streets, glazing the cobblestones under the dim yellow street lights. Tourists hurried toward Casse, umbrellas knocking against each other, but Lena Marceau, a 26-year-old crime journalist, wasn't thinking about warmth or sheltered. Her camera bag hung heavy on her shoulder as she walked toward the entrance of the Paris Catacombs, following a lead she had kept secret even from her editor. A week earlier, a mysterious message had appeared in her inbox. The bodies in the catacombs are restless. One of them bleeds still. Midnight. Come alone. At first, she laughed. Internet prank. But then people started vanishing, first an American tourist, then two local teenagers. Police found nothing, but local whispers carried a single phrase: Les Sagnan, the bleeding one. Lena wasn't afraid of legends. She hunted stories that others avoided. She believed every myth had a root, every horror had a human mind behind it. As she approached the catacombs entry gate, a cold gust swept across her neck. She paused, scanning the street. Nothing but rain, silence, and the faint echo of a distant police siren. She exhaled, pushed her badge under her jacket, and stepped inside. The catacombs swallowed her like a beast made of stone. The smell of damp rock and centuries-old bones wrapped around her. Her flashlight teased shapes on the wall: skulls stacked neatly, femurs arranged like macabre bricks, inscriptions carved by hands long dead. Just a story, she whispered. But even she didn't believe that fully. A sound suddenly echoed, something like soft scraping. She froze. "Hello," she called. A whisper slid through the darkness. He waits. Her blood turned to ice. Shark Chapter 2. The Missing Tourist. Detective Adrien Gauchier stared at the crime board in the 12th District Police Station. Photos of vanished tourists stared back at him, smiling faces taken before they disappeared into the Paris underground. Adrien rubbed his tired eyes. Had been on the missing persons task force for months, and the catacombs cases ate at him more than he admitted. 3 disappearances in 11 days. Each victim entered the catacombs. None came out. Locals blamed myths. His chief blamed tourists wandering off. Adrien blamed himself. He had patrolled the catacombs as a rookie. He knew its tunnels better than most officers, and he knew that, once lost down there, people did not simply vanish, they left traces. But these victims did, and that terrified him. A younger officer burst into the office. "Detective, we found a message scratched near the last site where those boys went missing." Adrien's heart quickened. "What kind of message?" The officer hesitated. "It said, 'He bleeds still.'" Adrien's pulse skipped. Had heard that phrase before, written years ago. He grabbed his coat. In heading out, as he reached the door, the officer added, "A journalist was seen going down there a couple of hours ago." Adrien stopped. "Who?" "Lena Marceau." Adrien cursed under his breath. She had a reputation for going too deep into crimes even cops avoided. And now she was down there alone, exactly where the disappearances happened. He grabbed a flashlight and sprinted into the rain. Shark Chapter 3. Beneath the bodice. The catacombs swallowed Lena in corridors so tight she had to slide sideways. Her flashlight flickered across skulls stacked into endless walls. She checked her phono signal. She clicked her audio recorder. "This is Lena Marceau entering Sun 3 of the catacombs, following a lead on the disappearances. Strange noises, so far possible trespassers or squatters." The whisper returned. "Lena," her heart slammed against her ribs. She spun around, flashlight trembling. "Who's there?" Silence. Only dripping water and the sound of her own breathing. She moved deeper, every step echoing in the long tunnel. The world felt like a tomb. The deeper she went, the colder the air grew, unnaturally cold, like winter's breath in a stone coffin. She reached a chamber whiter than the last. Bones arranged in a heart pattern decorated the walls. Her flashlight hit something red, something wet. Her breath stopped. A fresh smear of blood streaked across a skull. Not centuries old, not decorative. Fresh. She knelt, touched it with trembling fingers. Still warm. She swallowed hard. Someone was close. A metallic clang echoed behind her. She whipped around. A tall figure stood at the end of the tunnel, half hidden in darkness. "Hello," she whispered. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face pale as bone, veins blackened, eyes sunken as if drained of sleep, and something like sorrow twisted across his features. He wasn't wearing modern clothes, his shirt torn, stained, old as time. Blood dripped from his left hand. He raised it slowly. "Help me," he whispered. Her body went rigid. This wasn't a legend. This wasn't a ghost. This was a man. A bleeding man. And he was alive. A sharp chapter 4, The Bleeding One. "Who are you?" Lena asked, forcing her voice not to shake. The man stepped closer. His movements were unnatural, as if his muscles obeyed with effort and pain. His voice was dry, cracking. "I was trapped so long." She lifted her camera slowly. "Are you injured? I can help." He shook his head violently. "No, you don't understand." He pressed his hand over his chest, where thick red blood seeped between his fingers, fresh, but his expression showed no pain. "It won't stop," he whispered. "It never stops." Before she could respond, another sound echoed behind him like nails scratching stone. He flinched. "No, they're coming." "Who?" Lena demanded. He stepped back into the shadows. "Run." Suddenly a harsh, guttural scream tore through the tunnel. Lena stumbled back. Something moved in the darkness, quick, violent, scraping bone. The man's eyes widened in terror. "They smell blood." He pushed her aside with surprising strength and limped down a narrow corridor. Lena hesitated only a second before chasing him. If she let him vanish, then Story vanished too, and maim her only chance of surviving. Behind her, the scraping grew louder and closer. Sharp chapter 5, Adrien enters the dark. Adrien flashed his police badge at the catacombs guard. "Open it. Now." The guard hesitated. "Sir, it's past closing hours. People keep disappearing, and now a journalist is underground without permission." "Open it." The guard swallowed and unlocked the gate. Adrien clicked on his heavy-duty flashlight and descended the spiral staircase. The air shifted, immediately cool, stale, and filled with ancient dust. He moved quickly, following the mapped paths, then veered into an unmarked tunnel where teenagers sometimes dared each other to go. He checked the ground. Muddy footprints, small ones. "Lena," he muttered. Then he noticed something else. Drops, red drops, fresh blood. His stomach knotted. He followed the trail, flashlight cutting through the blackness. A shrill scream tore through the tunnels. Adrien froze. That was no animal, no human he had ever heard. He broke into a run. Sharp chapter 6, The Hidden Chamber. Lena followed the bleeding man through twisting tunnels until the world opened into an enormous underground hall, one she had never seen in maps. Candles flickered on stone, altars, strange symbols marked the walls. In the center lay a massive stone slab stained with dark brown patches. Dried blood, years old. The man staggered toward it. "This is where it began." Lena breathed heavily. "What happened to you?" He clenched his jaw. "My name was Thomas Devereux, a historian. I came down here with a research team 7 years ago." She froze. 7 years? But he looked barely alive, yet somehow not dead. "We found this chamber," he continued, "and something found us." He looked at his hands, trembling. "It let me live, but cursed may my blood never ends. It feeds them. The scraping returned, louder, surrounding the chamber. Shadows crawled over the walls. Lena raised her camera, half afraid, half determined. "Who are they?" Before he answered, a pale hand shot out of the darkness. Then another, then dozens. Lena backed against the stone slab as pale, skeletal, human-shaped creatures crawled toward them, skin gray, eyes hollow, mouths stained red. Thomas shook violently. "They're the ones who stayed too long. They feed on the blood, and now they hunger for more." Lena whispered, "We need to go." Thomas nodded. grabbed her arm, then froze. The creatures sniffed, then screeched, and charged. Chapter 7. Lost in the mazes, they ran through the tunnels, their footsteps pounding against the stone. The creatures' screams chased them like wolves. Thomas stumbled. Lena grabbed him. Come on. Blood dripped from his chest onto the ground. The creatures followed the scent. They burst into a side passage, a narrow shaft where they had to crawl on hands and knees. Behind them, claws scraped stone. The creatures forced themselves through, shrieking. Lena's breath tore at her lungs. Her flashlight flickered again. Not now, she whispered, slapping it. It illuminated just in time. A fork in the path. Left, right. She chose right. The tunnel sloped downward, colder and colder. Air grew thin. Thomas collapsed. I can't, you can, she cried, pulling him up. Suddenly a beam of white light swept across them. A voice echoed. Lena, her heart jumped. Adrien. He rushed forward. I found you, thank God. We need to. Screams erupted behind him. He spun around, gun drawn. What the hell are those things? No time, Lena yelled. Run, eat sharp. Chapter 8. The Blood Ritual. They barricaded themselves inside a side chamber with a rusted metal gate. The creatures clawed at the bars, shrieking violently. Adrien aimed his gun through the gaps, fired twice. The bullets hit, but the creatures barely reacted. They're not dying, he whispered. Lena turned to Thomas. What do they want? We looked at the ground. My blood. Adrien frowned. Why you? Thomas stepped back into the candlelight, showing the full wound in his chest, a deep, impossible slash that should have killed him years ago. They tried to sacrifice me to awaken something ancient, but I survived. The ritual failed but cursed me instead. He touched the bone carving on the chamber wall, a figure with thousands of hands reaching through earth. The mother below, he whispered. A spirit older than Paris. She feeds on life, on fear, on blood. They worship her. Lena's voice trembled. And the creatures are what? Her followers were victims, he corrected. Once human, now lost. Adrien stared at Thomas. And you, why keep you alive? Because my blood doesn't end, Thomas said bitterly. They need me, forever. The creatures rammed the gate again. The metal groaned. It wouldn't hold long. Adrien grabbed Lena's hand. We're leaving, now. Thomas swallowed. I can't go with you. What? Lena shouted. They smell my blood. As long as I live, they'll chase us. You'll die. No, Lena grabbed his shoulders. We can hide you. There is only one way, Thomas whispered. And the curse. He handed Adrien a rusted dagger. Use it, please, before they break in. Lena shook her head violently. No, there has to be another way. But Thomas stepped back, tears in his deadened eyes. I haven't lived in 7 years. Not really. Let me die. Adrien hesitated. The gate cracked. Creatures shrieked. Lena screamed. Adrien, do something. He closed his eyes, then raised the dagger. Sharp. Chapter 9. The last drop. The dagger plunged into Thomas' heart. He exhaled softly, like a man finally freed. His blood spilled onto the stone, dark and endless, but then it stopped. For the first time in 7 years, he collapsed, lifeless. The creatures froze. They sniffed the air. Then, slowly, one by one, they backed away. Their shrieks faded into low whimpers as they retreated into the tunnels. The curse had broken. Adrien and Lena stood trembling, breathing hard, staring at Thomas' body, finally frayed, finally gone. Sharp. Chapter 10. Rising to the light. Hours later, they didn't know how many they reached the exit shaft where faint morning light filtered down. They climbed the ladder together, emerging into a foggy Paris dawn. Police cars, ambulances, and reporters swarmed the area. Adrien covered Lena with his jacket. You okay? She nodded slowly. Not really, but alive. He looked at the catacombs behind them. What now? Lena gazed at her camera. Now I tell the story. Adrien frowned. No one will believe it. She looked him in the eyes. Does it matter? The truth deserves to be told. She walked toward the sunrise, exhausted but unbroken. Behind her, the catacombs entrance was sealed with new iron gates and warning signs. But even in daylight, deep below Paris a faint whisper lingered, a final echo of the curse. "Thank you," famous voice. Then silence. Forever. At the end,